Hi, just got done with some yard work today and thought I'd do a little bit of video out here before the some rain comes in. You can see it's pretty dark out. There's some rain going to come in. I was out yesterday on this lake catching some fish, some smallmouth, or excuse me, some largemouth bass, some small largemouth bass, and just thought I'd do an introduction to that video, kind of sharing a little bit about how I fish weed beds on this lake particularly. Because it is extremely weedy lake as the summer goes on. So it's the first day of June, and the weed beds are starting to form. And let me just turn this around real quick. You can take a look. So we got the weed beds out there starting to form. You can see all around my dock here, they're going to start getting thicker and thicker. These are the small lily pads, and it creates a lot of problems with using weedless or not weedless systems. So topwater baits, crankbaits start catching a lot of weeds. Not only do we have the vegetation that you can see on top, there's a lot of milfoil in here that's down below, and we have a lot of little things happening, and so we just have to deal with weeds. So pretty much everything I do from this point on is going to in some way, shape, or form be weedless, or I'm going to have to just worry about taking weeds off my hooks whenever I'm out there using crankbaits or something like that. And I still do that out in the deeper water. Most of this is about 4 to 5 feet deep, 2 to 3 feet deep. I fish it with a kayak. I get in there fairly shallow, and the bass like to be on the edge of the weeds. So what I use is a number of soft baits. Both Zoom and Yum have some really nice soft baits that I tend to use. I don't have a lot of luck on this lake with the harder plastic frog baits. I tend to like, this is a Zoom horny toad. It's got this kind of a flipping tail on here, makes a lot of noise. I tend to cast them in a weedless form, putting a hook down here in a weedless, and bringing the hook back up to the top, and also weightless. And what I'll do is I'll put this out on the top of the weeds and drag it back across just as it gets to the edge. If I haven't got anything, I stop, and it slowly works its way to the bottom. And again, if you're only at 3 or 4 feet of water, it doesn't take too long to do that. By the time it gets to the bottom, I either get more of the milfoil on it, or I catch a fish. So I really like the horny toads in this color, and also with the red specks in it. It works really well. This is a Yum swimming dinger with the paddle tail. Works very, very nicely. Although right now, to the last few days I've been out there, this is the rig I've been using, and it comes with it's also a Yum swim dinger, but this one happens to be what they call the thumping dinger. It has that kind of wild flat tail, and that makes a lot of noise on the surface of the water. They've been just going crazy for this particular bait here. I've already cut this one down so this is actually a 6-inch, and as it tears up the top of it, I'll cut that off and work it a little bit shorter yet, and I'll still catch fish on there. Getting a little bit short and really getting tore up here. You can see I'll probably end up having to throw this one on my throwaway pile. If that tail disappears, if they bite off the tail, or if it rips off for some reason, pretty much throw this out also, because that tail is what really does the job. And again, I throw these weedless, hook through there, a 2-0 or a 3-0, fairly heavy hook for throwing and flipping, and just hook it weedless through there, and try to get that tip up into the worm. So just want to get you started. It's starting to sprinkle out here, I can see, and I'm going to switch this over to the video I took yesterday, which was a really sunny day, completely different than today. This would be a beautiful day out there, but I did have a lot of yard work to do, get some lawn work done, and moved about 2 yards of dirt. So got busy, taking a little break here, enjoying the calm before the storm, if you will, and hope you enjoy the rest of the film. Alright, weedless. This is a let's see what we got here. This would be a Yum Thumpindinger. Seems to make a little bit different noise than that swimming dinger with the paddle blades, or paddle tail. Throw it out there, make a lot of noise coming across the weeds, and then let it drop right on the edge. And hopefully you got somebody's attention and they see it coming. Without a weight on it, drop slow. Usually a tail last. Back up here a little bit away from the... And then you're watching the line. And if there's a little hole in the middle of the weeds, drop it in there. Like right there, a little bit of a hole. Drop it down there. And again, I'm watching the line, not for me pulling it in tight, but for it to be pulling that way. So leave your line slack. Let it get down there, pull a little bit, drop it back down. See, it kind of changes direction a little bit as it's diving. It's all right. Looking for little twitches, a line to pull in a certain direction. And if nothing happens by the time it gets close to the bottom, pull it up and throw it in a different spot. Yeah, I'm going to just leave it right there for now. Is you want that worm to fall slow. If it gets down to the bottom, in this particular lake, there's a lot of weeds down at the bottom. That'll come up the Asian milfoil. You'll know that you're on the bottom because it'll bring that back with you no matter how hard you make it weedless. That stuff's pretty loose. So I just want to let it fall. In this particular case, I got the wind blowing from the left, so it's pushing me along. And all I'm doing with the trolling motor is kind of moving myself back and forth. Yeah, keep me within an easy casting range. There he is. There we go. There we go. I didn't even know he was there until I pulled a little bit and then plop. Ain't real big. Nothing real huge, but the technique works. Make it weedless again. Usually bring that tip just a little bit out and then back in a little bit just so that it doesn't catch. So I didn't even hardly know it was there until I started bringing in the line. There's a little bit of a thump on there, and I set the hook. About perfect. If you are not watching close, they do suck it down and they'll sit there with it. Because I'm moving a little bit, there's always movement in the line, so you got to kind of watch what the difference is between you moving the line. So right there, about when I started pulling, started reeling in the extra line, that's when I realized there was something on there. Otherwise, they grab it and they sit there. Yeah, right out there, right about there. Let it drop. Here we go, here we go, here we go, there it goes. There goes another one. Oh, and there we go. Got another little dink. They do tear up the worms. The only problem with these, I'm going to cut the tip off of that. The only problem with these yum worms is they just don't hold up very long, but they're awesome feel to them. Great movement. I think because they are soft, it really doesn't matter. So make sure you got slack. I'm backing up just a little bit, so just kind of get myself over a little bit, stop that from backing out. Bring in a little bit. Let it wait. And we'll bring it in. Look at how it's hooked. Sometimes it just doesn't want to get a good hook in there once you start putting lots of holes in these things. So let me bring this back out. There we go. I'll bring it through a little bit and just put the tip back in. Keep it weedless and make it easy for them to pop it out of the worm. Let it fall. If it almost looks like it, just bring in, tighten up that line. We got a little drift going here. That's what's causing the line to move a little. This works especially well when it's a real thick weed bed and you got a definite edge on it. Sometimes you get them in the top, but definitely not the extent you get them on the side. There's some of that milfoil here down at the bottom. Oh, here we go. Oh, that one I felt. Come here. Oh. Okay. And look at that hook. Just the way it's supposed to be, right through the upper lip. Again, nothing big, but the technique is great. Rehook it, cast it back out. A thumping dinger, and caught one more, but that frog just didn't give the action that I wanted it anymore. So we'll try some different weed beds here. Then I'm going to go along the shoreline over here. Oh, here's one. Oh, got him. All right. Didn't know he was there until I started pulling it in. Stuff is going into it. Now we got a little larger one. That's what I'm talking about. He's just barely hooked. Okay, you don't want to lose him now. There we go. There we go. Nice. Same technique. Now we're starting to get one. I'm going to measure that one. Things put aside here. Put him in the water for a moment. Let him cool down. Got the measuring board. Don't have a tournament going on, so I don't have a tag on here. Camera ready. All right. Come here, everybody. Just relax. There you go. Tail down. $15 and a half. There he goes. I like that technique on this lake especially. Not huge. Not huge at all. Unfortunately, out the cheek here.